Don't overlook your pennies. Some 1976, 1988, and even 2003 Lincoln cents can be worth way more than just 1 cent. Rare minting errors, double dies, and unusual varieties have made these pennies sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. In this video, I'll show you what makes these dates special and how to spot the valuable ones hiding in your change. It's a 1976 US 1-cent penny, a coin most people would glance over and drop back into circulation without a second thought. But this one is different, and what makes it different could turn it into a treasure worth more than you could imagine. A regular penny, the kind you toss in a fountain or leave in the bottom of your car's cup holder, suddenly being valued between $58,000 and $140,000 sounds almost too good to be true. Yet, this is the magic of error coins and the stories they tell. The 1976 penny sits in a fascinating time in American history. The nation was celebrating its bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of its independence. Everywhere you looked, from quarters with the drummer boy design to commemorative stamps and souvenirs, the celebration was reflected in daily life. But the Lincoln cent remained unchanged. The U.S. Mint didn't release a special bicentennial penny design, opting instead to keep Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. That might sound like nothing special, but this decision made the 1976 penny stand out in another way. Collectors already had a deep curiosity for coins from that year, given the bicentennial significance, and when error pennies from 1976 began surfacing, the intrigue only deepened. Error coins are born from mistakes in the minting process, and while they may seem like flaws, these mistakes are what make them extraordinary. In the case of the 1976 penny, errors could range from off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets to coins accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchets. Each type of error adds its own story and rarity factor, and rarity is what drives collectors wild. Imagine flipping over a penny and seeing Lincoln's profile doubled, his features slightly shadowed as if he has a ghostly twin. Or finding a coin where part of the design is missing because it was struck off-center. Or even rarer still, discovering one struck on a dime planchet, making it look like a misfit that was never supposed to exist. These anomalies are what transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into a piece of history and a collector's dream. Now picture this. You're at a flea market or yard sale, and someone has a jar of old coins for just a few dollars. You pick through them absent-mindedly, and suddenly you notice the date 1976. You take a closer look and realize the coin is struck off-center, the design curving strangely with blank copper space on one side. That tiny mistake could mean you've just stumbled across a coin worth thousands. In fact, some of these error pennies have reached astonishing prices at auctions, ranging anywhere from $58,000 to as high as $140,000 depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin. What someone else dismissed as just a penny could end up paying off a student loan, covering a down payment on a house, or funding the trip of a lifetime. The beauty of the 1976 penny error isn't just in the monetary value, but in the way it ties into the broader narrative of American coinage. In the same year when other coins were given commemorative bicentennial designs, the penny quietly went about its business. It didn't need to change to become valuable. Its worth came from the quirks of production, the tiny slip-ups at the mint that turned certain coins into rarities. Collectors often say that coin collecting is about holding a piece of history in your hands, and with an error penny from 1976, you're not just holding history, you're holding a once-in-a-lifetime accident that tells the story of human imperfection meeting industrial process. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your lifetime. Maybe thousands. How many times have you really looked at one? The truth is, most of us don't bother to inspect them closely. But the 1976 penny reminds us that extraordinary things can hide in the most ordinary places. That coin in your pocket change, the one you might leave in a tip jar or toss into the laundry, could be the one that collectors are willing to pay tens of thousands for. And when you realize that, suddenly every coin feels like a potential treasure hunt point. One of the reasons coins like the 1976 penny error can fetch such high prices is scarcity. Not all errors are created equal. While minor misstrikes might be interesting to hobbyists, it's the dramatic, eye-catching errors that command the big bucks. Coins that show clear doubling of letters, missing sections of the design, or full off-center strikes are especially sought after. And when these errors are preserved in excellent condition, shiny, crisp, and free of scratches, their value skyrockets. That's how we get those jaw-dropping auction prices, with some reaching that $58,000 to $140,000 range. Collectors aren't just buying metal when they purchase these coins. They're buying stories. They're buying the thrill of owning something so rare that only a handful of others in the world may possess it. They're buying a conversation piece, a tangible artifact of the mint's history, and an investment that could grow even more valuable with time. Now imagine the tension of an auction. The room is filled with experienced collectors, each eyeing a pristine 1976 penny error displayed under bright lights. The auctioneer starts the bidding, the numbers climb, and soon it's clear that the coin is no ordinary piece of copper. Hands shoot up, voices grow urgent, and before long the final hammer comes down with a staggering number. Perhaps $92,000 or even $125,000. For the winning bidder, it's not just about the price paid, but the pride of walking away with a treasure few others will ever see. For the seller, it's the realization that a simple penny has turned into a life-changing sum of money. And what about you? Have you ever looked closely at the pennies sitting in your coin jar or resting in your car's console? The idea that one of those could be a 1976-era penny worth tens of thousands is thrilling. It makes you want to go back and inspect every coin, hold it up to the light, check for doubling, off-center strikes, or anything that looks unusual. Because the truth is, these treasures are still out there, waiting to be discovered by someone observant enough to notice them. The 1976 penny-era coin captures everything that's exciting about coin collecting. It's a reminder that even in a world where so much seems mass-produced and uniform, little imperfections can create immense value. It's about history, rarity, chance, and the thrill of discovery. And most of all, it's about the potential that the most common object in your life, a penny, could actually hold a fortune. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't dismiss it. Pick it up, check the date, and take a closer look. Because if you happen to stumble upon that rare 1976-era penny, you won't just be holding 1 cent in your hand. You'll be holding a piece of history worth anywhere between $58,000 and $140,000. And that's the kind of story that makes the world of rare coins endlessly fascinating. In the world of coins, some pieces look ordinary at first glance, but once you dive into their backstory, their errors, their quirks, and their hidden mysteries, you begin to realize just how special they really are. The 1988 US 1-cent penny error is one of those coins. To the average person, it may look like nothing more than a regular Lincoln cent, the kind that has passed through countless hands, tossed in pockets, or slipped into change jars. But hidden within this coin is a fascinating error that transformed it from an everyday penny worth a single cent into a collectible worth an astonishing amount of money. Today, we'll explore how this happened, what makes the 1988 penny so unique, and why collectors are willing to pay anywhere from $50,000 to $120,000 for the right error example of this coin. So let's dive into the captivating world of this little piece of copper-plated history. The first thing you need to know about the 1988 penny is that it belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, which had been running since 1959. On the obverse, or front, you see Abraham Lincoln's bust, designed by Victor David Brenner, and on the reverse, you see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. The memorial reverse had been in use for decades by the time 1988 came around, and most people were already very familiar with it. But the year 1988 sits at a special place in coin history because it came just a few years before a major design change: the switch to the Lincoln Bicentennial Cents in 2009, and then the Lincoln Shield Cent in 2010. Collectors were already paying close attention to Lincoln cents, but they didn't expect that an unusual variety in 1988 would become such a star. So, what makes the 1988 penny error so valuable? It has to do with the design transition between dies used for the obverse side of the coin. In coin minting, a die is a piece of metal that imprints the design onto a blank planchet. Normally, each year's dies are carefully prepared, but sometimes mix-ups happen. For the 1988 penny, a famous error involves the use of a transition die. Specifically, some 1988 pennies were struck using an obverse die that was intended for the next year, 1989. This means that the small details on Lincoln's portrait and lettering, such as the shape of the G in Liberty or the style of the designer's initials, appear different than they should. This type of mistake is called a transitional error, and it is one of the most sought-after errors in the coin collecting world. Now imagine being the person who found one of these coins. You might have gotten it as change at a store, maybe even thought nothing of it at first. But upon closer inspection, you'd notice that the design didn't quite match what you'd expect for a 1988 penny. For collectors, spotting such a detail is like striking gold. And that's where the incredible jump in value comes into play. Instead of being worth 1 cent, suddenly your penny could be worth between $50,000 and $120,000, depending on its condition and the market demand. To put this into perspective, think about how many pennies you've probably handled in your lifetime. It's safe to say thousands. The chance that one of them could have been a rare transitional error like the 1988 makes you wonder just how much money may have slipped through your fingers without ever realizing it. This is why so many collectors check their change meticulously. Stories circulate of people who found these rare varieties in circulation decades after they were minted, tucked away in a jar of coins or spotted in a pile of pocket change. But let's dig deeper into why collectors pay such high prices. Coins like this 1988 penny error are not only rare but also represent a mistake by the U.S. Mint, an institution known for precision. That element of human error in a system designed for perfection fascinates people. It's like owning a piece of history that wasn't supposed to exist. Collectors thrive on that. Combine rarity with the story behind the error, and you have the recipe for sky-high values at auction. Auction houses have seen these coins generate serious excitement. When one of these rare 1988 transitional error pennies crosses the block, bidders know they may never see another example for years. That competitive spirit drives prices into the tens of thousands. Depending on its condition, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, a 1988 penny error can sell anywhere between $50,000 and $120,000. Coins in pristine mint state condition often land at the higher end of that range, making them especially desirable for investors as well as passionate collectors. Now, you might be wondering how to tell if you have one of these special coins. While we can't dive into the full details here, one of the key signs lies in the designer's initials, FG, which appear near the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Differences in the style of these initials are the giveaway that the wrong die was used. So the next time you come across a 1988 penny, grab a magnifying glass and take a close look. Who knows, you might just be holding a treasure in your hands. The story of the 1988 penny error is also a reminder of the fascinating world of minting technology. In 1988, the U.S. Mint was already striking billions of pennies each year. With such massive production numbers, it might seem surprising that such an error could slip through. But in reality, when you're dealing with billions of coins, even a small batch made with the wrong die can easily go unnoticed by the public until much later. That's what makes these coins so rare. Only a limited number were ever struck, and even fewer survived circulation in good enough condition to be valuable today. Collectors often talk about the thrill of the hunt. Hunting for a rare 1988 penny is no different. The possibility that 1 cent could be worth as much as $120,000 keeps people searching through rolls of coins, jars, and collections. It's that sense of mystery and discovery that makes coin collecting such an addictive hobby. What's even more exciting is how coins like this 1988 penny blur the line between everyday life and extraordinary value. Imagine going to buy a cup of coffee, handing over a penny like this as part of your change, and unknowingly giving away something worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of real-life drama and suspense that surrounds these coins. When we think about investments, we often picture stocks, real estate, or even gold. But rare coins like the 1988 penny error show us another side of investment potential. For those who know what to look for, a single coin can become a financial windfall. With values ranging from $50,000 to $120,000, it's easy to see why these coins are so highly sought after. In conclusion, the 1988 US 1 cent penny error isn't just a small piece of copper. It's a story of transition, mistake, rarity, and incredible value. It reminds us that sometimes the most ordinary-looking things can hide the most extraordinary secrets. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the coins in your pocket, the 1988 penny teaches us one lesson loud and clear. Always pay attention, because you never know when a 1 cent coin might actually be worth 6 figures. The 2003 penny may not strike most people as particularly remarkable. After all, it carries the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse, the same design that had been in use since 1959 when the United States Mint celebrated the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse shows the familiar profile of Lincoln himself, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. For decades, this design dominated the penny, making the 2003 issue just another in a long line of billions of coins. But like with all things in minting, accidents happen. And when they do, those mistakes can turn an ordinary coin into something spectacularly rare and valuable. Error coins are the heart and soul of many numismatic stories, and the 2003 penny has a fascinating set of them. Errors occur for many reasons. Dies wearing out, striking issues, misaligned machinery, or planchets that were never meant to be pennies ending up in the mix. Some 2003 pennies show double dies, where the lettering or design elements are struck twice in slightly different positions, making the coin appear ghostly or even giving Lincoln an oddly shadowed profile. Others show off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly centered during minting, leaving part of the design cut off and creating a strange, striking visual. Then there are transitional planchet errors, when a penny is struck on the wrong type of metal blank entirely, such as one meant for another denomination. It's these wrong planchet errors that are especially valuable. Imagine a penny struck on a blank intended for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. Suddenly, you have a coin that looks different, weighs differently, and is immediately recognizable to a trained eye. Those are the kinds of errors that can launch a coin's value into the tens of thousands. That's why collectors are willing to pay between $40,000 and $110,000 for a 2003 penny if the error is dramatic and the condition pristine. Think about the journey of a coin like this. Minted at one of the U.S. Mint's facilities, it somehow slips through unnoticed despite its glaring differences. Instead of being caught and melted down, it's released into circulation, where it begins its life as just another penny. It might be used to buy gum at a gas station, passed along in change at a grocery store, or tossed into a piggy bank. For years, no one realizes what they're holding until someone finally takes a closer look and spots the error that transforms it from a coin worth 1 cent into a collector's dream worth tens of thousands of dollars. Stories like these are what make people check their change again. It's the thrill of the hunt. Imagine the rush of spotting an odd-looking 2003 penny and realizing you're holding something that could fetch $40,000 to $110,000 at auction. That's life-changing money in a coin most of us overlook daily. It's a modern-day treasure hunt where the treasure isn't buried underground, but instead jingling around in your pocket, waiting to be noticed. Auction houses have become the stage for these discoveries. A rare 2003 penny error makes its way onto the block, and suddenly collectors from all over the world are bidding. The price climbs higher and higher as each collector realizes the rarity and significance of the coin. At the final hammer strike, a tiny copper-colored coin that once could have been mistaken for any other penny is now a centerpiece of a world-class collection, commanding tens of thousands of dollars. But beyond the money, these error pennies are fascinating because of the stories they carry. Every error coin is a window into the minting process itself. A double die tells us about the precision required to create coin dies and how even a small slip can lead to a major flaw. An off-center strike shows us how alignment in high-speed minting machines can go awry. A wrong planchet error shows us how blanks of different denominations can sometimes get mixed together. A small slip in human oversight or machine sorting. Each error coin is essentially a piece of history that shows the imperfections of a system built for mass production. The 2003 penny is particularly exciting because of how recent it is. Unlike coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that are now confined mostly to collections, coins from the early 2000s are still common in circulation. That means you don't need to go to a museum or an auction to see one. You could theoretically find one at your local bank or in your next handful of change. That accessibility keeps the dream alive for so many collectors and treasure hunters. One of the reasons error coins like the 2003 penny are so desirable is the concept of rarity. Billions of 2003 pennies were minted, but only a handful contain these dramatic, valuable errors. It's like a needle in a haystack, but that's exactly what drives collectors wild. When something common becomes rare through an accident of production, it becomes even more coveted. People want what they cannot easily have, and in the world of numismatics, scarcity is king. Now imagine this: you're rolling up your spare change to take to the bank. You come across a 2003 penny that looks slightly off. Maybe the "In God We Trust" lettering looks doubled, or Lincoln's head seems misaligned. Maybe the coin looks lighter or thinner than a regular penny. At first glance, you might think it's just a damaged coin from wear and tear. But what if it's not? What if it's one of those prized errors worth $40,000 to $110,000? In that moment, the coin you almost dismissed could become one of the most valuable things you've ever found. Collectors often say that the joy of this hobby isn't just in the coins themselves, but in the stories behind them. The 2003 error penny embodies that perfectly. It's a story of chance, of human error, of a little mistake becoming a big treasure. It's a reminder that value is sometimes hidden where you least expect it, and that even the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary worth if you only look closely enough. These coins also act as teachers. They force collectors and enthusiasts to learn about the minting process, about die creation, machine alignment, and planchet preparation. They encourage curiosity and attention to detail. In fact, many people who begin searching for error coins discover a lifelong passion for numismatics, driven by the idea that something as small as a penny could unlock a whole world of history and knowledge. The allure of the 2003 penny also lies in its unpredictability. There's no treasure map, no guaranteed way to find one. Could be in circulation, or it could already be sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar. The randomness makes every encounter with a penny exciting, because there's always a small chance it could be the one that changes everything. As more collectors learn about the 2003 penny and as more error coins are discovered and authenticated, the demand only grows. Each time one is sold at auction for $40,000 to $110,000, it adds to the legend and inspires more people to keep searching. And because so few exist, their values are likely to remain high, if not increase, as collectors compete for the limited supply. So the next time you find yourself dismissing a penny as worthless, remember this story. Remember the 2003 penny error coin that turned an ordinary cent into a six-figure collectible. Remember that value isn't always obvious, and that sometimes the most overlooked things hold the greatest surprises. Who knows? The next 2003 penny you see might not just be worth 1 cent. It might be worth enough to change your life.